Welcome to Thrones and Scones. It's your weekday morning podcast where we talk about Game of Thrones over breakfast. It's Tony and Hans in with you to talk about why we're not talking about Game of Thrones over breakfast. And Jeremy's dead. We're sorry to report. Here I am having to drive all weekend, and my mom was like, "Oh, it's gonna be raining really bad. I don't want you to have to deal with it." I'm like, Psh, I'm untouchable. You know, I have a very successful podcast now. I'm like main character of the story at this point. Nothing bad is gonna happen to me. And little did I know that Jeremy has had a little bit more than thunderstorms to deal with out in Ohio. Hans, what's been going down?
Yeah, just barely.
First of all, I do realize that I think from the way that I played that joke into the actual truth, it might sound like Jeremy's dead, and he's probably not.
No, he's definitely not. But apparently, a pretty nasty tornado ripped through part of Ohio yesterday or last night. I don't know exactly what time it was, but yeah, it was pretty brutal. I've only heard bits and pieces from Jeremy, but I also, even when I got to work, the first thing I saw on the news was this Ohio tornado. So it's kind of a big deal. I kind of just figured it was Jeremy stalling because he didn't want to record tonight or something.
Absolutely, sure.
Just making shit up. But no, they're actually a bunch of buildings were just completely decimated. I think last I checked, I heard, which this is going to put probably a little bit of a poor spin on the original joke, on the original opening joke. But I think 7 or 8 injured and 1 dead in this storm.
Okay.
So, and it wasn't Jeremy.
Not Jeremy.
Not Jeremy.
Not Jeremy's wife.
No. Everyone, everyone's, as far as my family goes, everyone's good. I haven't heard anything else. The house is okay. They had some siding and things rip off. The area is pretty, they're under a boil water warning or something. Like, you can't even drink the water right now. And yeah, so it's pretty bad, but everyone's okay. So that's good.
I am now remembering we have a solid listener chunk from Ohio, and that maybe my joke might have fallen on some unfortunate ears. So if anybody has been affected, we don't mean to make light of the situation.
No, it's
only making jest in the fact that Jeremy was pretty close to some pretty bad things, it sounded like, but is all fine.
Yeah, it was but I guess it's been pretty bad. I heard some things. I was just talking to my mom actually about in one of my sister's coworkers or something. Their entire house is gone.
That's insane.
It's just nuts. Yeah. So it was brutal. I didn't even know that it was gonna happen. I didn't even hear that there was any issues or warnings or anything. Crazy.
This is so you were saying Jeremy had texted and said, "Hey, we might need to push the recording." And Hans, you were like, "Oh yeah, I saw it on the news." And I was like, "Why didn't I see it on the news? It's not that far. It sounds like it's pretty devastating, and we've got all this flood stuff going on here, so we're kind of anything that's happening that's not that people love to focus on." But then I realized as I was looking into it that all of those injuries and that one person killed, none of them were Kardashians, so none of my news outlets were reporting on it.
Sure, that's
and
only
so
natural.
I just didn't, it's not on my radar.
Yeah.
At that point. But no, so we're thinking about when we would be able to record our season review, as that was supposed to be coming out this morning. And then we're like, well, we'd have to push it a few days because Jeremy is without electricity at the moment. Yeah. And we're like, okay, that's all well and good. And then we're like, well, we might as well. At this point, we kind of realized, courtesy of Hans, that Game of Thrones is done. And we are on our own clock. And the longer we wait to end the show, the longer we have to mill about and not actually think about what is going to happen after this show.
Yeah. We might as well drag it out. I mean, like I told you guys before, I'm accustomed to this sort of famous, very celebrity-like lifestyle now. I just don't think I could go back. So
no. No.
Much like the Fast and Furious films, I'm going to milk this sucker for all she's got.
Which means, next, there'll be a podcast in like 2 weeks, and it's Rob and Casey doing their own spin-off buddy cop podcast. And they're both the sassy bad boy. So we wanted to update. So it's looking like, barring any future and further natural disasters, acts of the old gods and the new, or what have you, that our season 8 full recap will be coming next Wednesday with our series recap with Rob following that. So that is the current plan. And if that gets thrown into the air via high-powered winds, well, then we'll come up with something else.
Yeah.
But for the time being, that's where we're sitting right now. And so Hans and I just wanted to update you real quick and say that, and then just check in. We've been living here now more than a week without Game of Thrones. How are you feeling?
I'm okay. It's like, I think the way we watched it, I'm a little, just because we hit it so hard with the binging, we were just talking about this before we started recording. I'm a little bit Game of Thrones out right now. I'm a little exhausted.
It's kind of exhausted me for what I first thought was just like, it's an hour-long dramatic series, and we watched it so quickly, and now I kind of want to watch lighthearted or shorter shit.
Yeah.
But I'm now kind of realizing it's less the length or the level of commitment. It's that I don't like we've been watching it so actively. We've been really kind of breaking everything down and taking notes and stuff. And I am now forcing myself to just watch things stupid passively. Like I'm kind of purposefully on my phone as I'm watching anything, just so I'm like not grilling into every little detail. It's like I'm retraining my brain. I was watching Broad City the other day, and I was thinking of like the character arc that they were gonna go with, and like if something was gonna end really aggressively, and I was like trying to plot the twists, and then I was like, no, they're just fucking doing shots. Like,
Are you checking out this? You talking about this final season here?
I'm on the final season right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Jenna and I watched the entire season yesterday.
No shit.
So we didn't stop the just insane binging, but
very nice. I haven't. It seems from just a couple of the references, I'm only like 2 episodes in. It seems like it's pretty new because I just started watching the show like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, the final season is new because we have been watching the show for a little while yet. Because we came back specifically for this, so it must just be within the past month that it came out.
Oh shit!
Or like within the last couple months at least. Because, because Jenna has been a pretty big fan of the show, so I know she was wanting to watch it. So when that came up, with Game of Thrones being done, we just threw that on. But yeah, I agree. To the same point, I am very just passively watching this stuff. I had set up my PlayStation so that I could literally play PlayStation 4 while watching Broad City. So
it's just efficient, man.
Yeah.
Now, I know we've talked about this before. I don't know about it on the podcast, but we were giving Amazon some crap a little while back for having a terrible user interface when it comes to their videos.
Correct.
And that holds up. It's terrible. Really bad. Amazon needs to figure that out. Of the other big 3, where do you think they fall in like ranking of layout?
Absolutely.
Usability.
So, I'm gonna say one thing first.
Okay.
Amazon has different interfaces depending on the unit you're using to use it, I guess. Okay. And I know this, and I'm sure it has to do with things not being updated maybe or whatever, because my parents have a DVD player or a Blu-ray player that has like streaming functionalities attached to it, but that's all it is. It's not like a gaming unit or anything like
that. It's the future.
Yeah, it's the future. It also has a secondary VHS input, which is definitely going to be the wave. That's what's coming next, obviously. But on that, it is the worst thing I've ever had to experience.
It's just like so old. Like
I think it's so old and it's so weird. It's like the interface is basically like little DVD like box shapes of the movies, or almost like little posters of the movies, or shows. And I'm telling you, it puts like 36 of them on the screen at once. It is impossible to read. I have to like stand up and go up to the television like and get right on it to be able to see it. And then clicking into it, there's just so much words and just so much on the screen always. It's just really, really hard to use. So then I will say the PlayStation version of Amazon is far superior. It's at least It's at least like okay to use. Not great, but much better. When it comes to the other big three, and I take it you're referring to Netflix, Hulu, HBO Now?
Yeah.
Okay. The big three to us, because I know there's some other ones out there, but I don't really use anything else.
Would they be? I mean, I imagine these have to be top of the list.
Yeah, I guess I would argue if
Market
HBO is third. I know Hulu and Netflix.
Post Game of Thrones, maybe not.
Maybe not. Yeah, probably a good point. HBO Now is just so freaking expensive.
It is so much money.
So interface. And I will throw a shout out, just to stall on this question even longer. I will throw a shout out to the new PlayStation interface. Now that you can kind of just go into the video and it just lists like what's featured for everything. Have you noticed this?
No. So wait, this is the PlayStation what?
4. Like when you
Just
go in,
just the menu interface?
yeah, when you go into the menu and you go into like the little video tab.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Oh, how do you get to Netflix?
Oh, just through my TV.
Oh, gotcha. So if you have Netflix, Hulu, and stuff on your PlayStation 4, there's a little video tab, which is where I watch most of my stuff. And if you click on the video tab, it used to just take you to tiles where you could, like a folder with tiles where you could select what streaming service you want to go to. Now, instead of that, it drop downs like a list, I would say. And again, it has tiles of shows and movies that are featured, and then it'll be like the first one will be Netflix, the second one will be Hulu, the next one will be PlayStation Video or Store or whatever you can buy and stuff, and then there'll be like Crackle and all this stuff. And even if you don't own it, it'll show the featured things, and you can kind of dial through them, and it'll be cool. Like, yeah, it's really cool. So before even going into any of the apps, it has kind of like ads there that you can see, and of course, Game of Thrones is plastered all over it. Game of HBO is plastered all over it. And so I'm liking that. And there's been a couple times where something will pop out that, like a Netflix original or something that looks cool that caught my eye through that, which I think is neat. But as far as the big three goes, the main question here, I think HBO is the weakest.
Yeah. My problem with HBO, and again, so now that I know that you're doing it for the PlayStation, this is good. We can compare. So I'm doing it through my TV, which, as far as I know, would be the same usability as a Roku, because it's like the Roku TV.
Sure.
So my big problem with HBO is like you open it up and it's got the little menus. Okay, great. And then if you go to the right to get into one of the menus, it like doesn't do what you think it's going to do. So like there's a tile right there of a show, and you're highlighted on the sponsored menu, and then you hit the right and you think it's going to go to the show, but instead it just opens that menu, and then you have to hit right again to click on the show.
Yeah.
Which is very annoying. And my other big problem with HBO is it's great if you want to watch what's current, but if not, you either have to know what you're searching for and search for it by name, or you have to just go into all and go alphabetically, which is a crazy way to consume media.
Yeah, that's what I hate about it too. If you're just looking to watch a movie on HBO and see what they have, good luck. Mm-hmm. So go to Netflix. Yeah, because it's terrible. It is literally A to Z, and I'm like, and you can kind of get. There is some categories I know they have, like comedy or stuff, some kind of, but it's really not as structured as it should be. I'm still sorting through, and I'm like getting Back to the Future 2, and then next is some like random Spanish language movie.
Yeah.
And then next, it's just like it's very, very unintuitive.
At the very least, because they are kind of adding so much less volume than these other ones, you could at least do like a sort by most recently added, so that I can just go back to the last thing that I knew was there and then be like, oh, this is all the shit that's been added since the last time I looked. I don't care. Let's go to Netflix.
Yeah, let's go to Netflix. Yeah, because I've tried to go through the movies a couple times and just to see how it compares to Netflix and Hulu. But yeah, really the only times I've ever watched anything is when they're featured or brand new and they're on that first tile menu, which is, I would argue, is actually pretty good as far as like attracting to the new stuff. I think that featured menu is fine. But agreed, even a couple times trying to go and watch Game of Thrones, I would get to the main menu and then it tells me like what's featured. And I'm like, okay, well, Game of Thrones has to be featured. And then I'd see it and you'd think Game of Thrones should be the very first thing on that menu.
It should.
And I click over and it wasn't there. And I have to scroll down to get to Game of Thrones. And then I'll click one and it'll say Game of Thrones, but it's like, it is Game of Thrones, but it also, I can't remember what it takes you to. It doesn't take you to the most recent episode. It takes you to like something else or something, or just like the homepage of the show.
Right.
And it's not what I wanted. I'm like, I don't know. There's a couple things that have been super weird about it.
There's zero amount of customization on HBO.
Yeah.
I think even Amazon has more customization than HBO.
And the shows, which this is a minor gripe, okay? I'm not saying this is what brings it down to the third slot. I think it has a lot going against it. But just to add on, the shows are in order as far as what's newest is first.
Right.
Instead of what's like,
good.
Instead of what's or even the shows themselves. Like the newest season will be the first tile that slots up when you go into that show.
Yeah.
Instead of like season 1, like first episode, this is where you start.
Right.
Now it's not all like that. It depends like how deep you go into the menu. If you get in there deep enough, I think it takes you to the season 1, episode 1. But if not, if you're just on the broad like tile view of the show, the very top left or whatever, which you'd think would be the start, is actually the end, is what's most recently published.
Yeah.
Which makes sense if you're watching live, which I think is, again, kind of the whole HBO thing. But it doesn't make sense if you're binging, because I have accidentally watched the finale of a show that I was trying to start and did not realize it until the end of the show. And now I had just watched the season finale.
I'm starting to think that maybe that's what I did with The Young Pope, just because none of it made sense.
Yeah. It was very confusing. What show? I got to think about what show that was. It's a super popular HBO show.
Ballers.
No. No, I wasn't thinking about it. It definitely is a no. I have not watched Ballers.
Barry.
No, it's an older show.
The Sopranos.
not that old.
The Wire.
No, but I've heard that's good.
Real Sex.
Oh, True Detective. I went to go watch the first season because I heard it was phenomenal.
It's supposed to be good.
Watched the final episode. Very confused. I was like, oh shit, this is like this show is like very abstract. This show is like they're not telling you who these characters are. I like it. I'm like watching. I'm like, I'm even getting into it. I'm like, this is really interesting. And then it just kind of ends and I'm like, oh dang. And I'm like, that was kind of a big ending for the first episode. I really hope they're gonna extrapolate on some of these characters and explain what the shit just happened to me. Nope. That was it.
Did you go back and watch True Detective?
I tried to go back to the first episode because I'm a big Matthew McConaughey fan.
Sure.
I thought the show was really like very cool, even on that final episode. And so action packed. And then I went back to the first episode, and then kind of once I knew what was going to happen, it was really just not as thrilling.
Yeah, it loses a lot maybe.
It's a show very tied on suspense and things, and so knowing how it ended was a little bit anticlimactic, I guess.
Now, yeah, okay. So I think we're in agreement. Amazon number 4, HBO Now or Go, they're the same, at number 3.
Yeah.
By the way, biggest problem with Amazon, because even on so my TV, it's way better than whatever the DVD player situation sounds like.
Absolutely.
It's fine. My biggest problem with Amazon is that I'll go to something and I'll see it and I'm like, oh yeah, and then I'll click on it and it is not free.
Yeah, that sucks.
Let me completely separate, just my Amazon app on my TV. I shouldn't be able to just, click on something and it wants me to buy it. Unless I, go into that menu or search for something.
Yeah.
It's, the first fucking column where you're showing me all the shit that I've already watched on your thing. And then you're like, if you've liked Man in the High Castle, maybe you'll also like, American Gods. And I was like, I would love to watch American Gods. Click, you gotta buy the season. Suck a dick.
Yeah, that sucks. And the worst thing about it, I don't know if they still do this, but I used to watch on Amazon a little bit more than I do the past couple of years. And those pieces of shit would suck you into the first season with being Prime. And then the subsequent seasons were not. That, right. Yeah, that ruined it for me.
Amazon on the Netflix train where they are ad-free. Because even HBO, though you're definitely paying the most at nearly double Amazon and Hulu, if not more, depending on your plan, even has ads at the beginning. Although I have to be honest, they're included in the little thing of the video, so they're skippable completely. But it's like I've never turned off the ads on my Kindle because I have actually found multiple shows through those ads that I have watched.
Yeah, I don't mind it to an extent. Like you said, I actually, now that I don't really watch cable television anymore, you don't really get a lot of ads for shows, and unless you're actively looking for something, you just don't get a lot. Sometimes on YouTube you'll get caught with ads and stuff, but usually that's just other garbage, like product placement and stuff. So I actually appreciate the ads every once in a while. Like you're saying, even on HBO, some of the ads before Game of Thrones look pretty cool. I'm like, maybe I'll check those out sometime. Young Pope probably wouldn't have spent the marketing budget on that one, but
hell no.
But there's some other things that look interesting. And then
I watched Westworld.
Oh yeah, probably me too. HBO better be dumping some money into some marketing and some R&D to figure out what the heck's going to carry them through the next friggin' 8 years or 10 years, I guess.
It's true.
But I forgot what I was even saying, to be honest. Where my point started. What were we talking about?
Who cares?
Who cares? Fuck Amazon Prime
Fuck
Video.
Amazon. Slightly less fuck HBO. What are you putting in number 2?
Number 2. I remember what I was going to say. With the ad thing, Hulu has the multiple types of services you can buy now. They're branching out where they have the basic subscription, which is now costs money, right? Because originally you could use Hulu for free.
Is that true?
I believe so.
Okay.
But it was only you could only watch almost like cable, where you could only watch the last couple. You can only watch the last 3 eps that have aired, and you got ads like crazy. At the beginning, a couple times through the episode, and at the end, almost like you were watching cable. Gotcha. But it was a pretty sweet service, and it was very limited. Not as many shows were on there as there are now, not even close. And there was very limited movies at that time too. Because I used to use that, and then now there's I don't think that even exists anymore, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. But then I think there's the basic fee, which I'm not sure how much that is.
I think it's $7.
$7, but it's littered with ads, right?
It's not that bad. So that's what I have, and I don't mind. I mean, it's so Broad City.
Yeah.
There's it starts with ads, and then there's 2, maybe 3 ad breaks of a minute and a half.
Okay.
Ish.
That's not bad then.
And that's it. Yeah, it's I wouldn't justify essentially doubling what I'm paying for not having them.
Sure. I do justify that. 'Cause I pay the extra for no ads, and I don't believe there's any additional benefit other than the no ads. I don't think you get access to anything else.
I need to hear this from you because I heard a rumor that I don't know how they're tiering the programming, if it's like their top tier stuff, but I think the one that they were talking about was like Handmaid's Tale, which I don't know if you've watched. But I heard that there are some shows that even with the no ad thing, you get ads.
Okay. So this is where I was going with this a little bit, and that's what I am annoyed with, is I pay the extra money for no ads, and even watching certain shows, which is strange because, for example, it must be less because I was watching a show the other day and you get this disclaimer when the show starts and it says, due to streaming rights, something, this programming is not included in our no ads service or something. And you will, and ads will be shown throughout the show. However, the one show we were watching with that, maybe there was an ad in the beginning or something because I didn't really notice there being many ads on it. So I don't know if it's limited. I also was probably just kind of on my phone or half paying attention because I haven't had the ad service in a while, so I don't know how it compares. But now there's also like another tier to Hulu where you can start adding on like premium cable services to your Hulu subscription.
Oh, okay.
Like Showtime. You can pay even more money to then add on Showtime shows that they have on there to your subscription. I know that's at least one of them. I don't think HBO is on there, but I very well may be wrong.
Could be. I think it might be actually because Amazon does the same thing.
Yeah, where you can kind of tack on that. So that would make sense.
Yeah. And actually, even my Spotify now is tacked onto my Hulu account.
Yeah.
Or the other way around. I have no idea which way it works, but there was some deal like a month ago where you get both of them for $10.
Yeah, the media like entanglements is getting just a little bit crazy because now it's like I'm on Twitch, and apparently because I have Amazon, I have like a free Twitch subscription or something. I don't know what any of this has to do with anything, but
it's very confusing.
It's like, if they're gonna keep giving me extra stuff for my same old Prime subscription, then sure. Yeah. But
we're gonna realize in like 4 years, some new subscription's gonna come out. Let's just go ahead and call it Thrones and Scones Plus, where you can listen to all of our quality content, and we're gonna buy it because we want to listen to our stuff because of our egos. And we're going to realize like 2 months after we've been paying what I imagine will be like roughly $115, $130 a month just based off sheer worth. Naturally. Because, there's so much to offer. That we'll have actually been getting it for free from like 5 different sources.
Yeah.
There's all these apps now that are like, they'll tell you what you're paying for, right? They're like, they'll remind you. It's like, hey, you've got a recurring bill each month for this. Do you still want this streaming service? Because people have so many. I need an app that tells me what all of this shit is giving me and if there's any overlap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and just these offers to any students out there, get that Amazon student subscription.
You must do it.
I think I paid a couple years of full price Amazon before I realized that I could get the half price student rate. Big mistake.
And I don't want to give you wrong information that then you go use and then it doesn't work. But this is the way that it used to be. Because I didn't realize this until my sophomore years of college either. It's not like they check transcripts with your school.
No.
You have to have your school verified email address, but then you just get 4 years as long as that email address is still a thing. And my email address from still college, I could still get into it. So had I started my senior year of college, I would have gotten it for 3 years after I graduated.
Yeah.
It's everything for half price, basically.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's insane.
I'd probably be much wealthier now if I would have just realized.
But Amazon Prime now is it's more than $100.
Is it really? Did it go up too?
That's the problem. I gotta look up what it went up to, but I remember getting that email.
That's the problem is these things keep going up and they're just on auto pay, so I don't even notice.
Amazon Prime. So I take it that from this conjecture, Hulu's in the number 2 spot.
Yeah, I think so. I think Netflix has really just nailed it, especially with the original programming, if you're going to compare it to others. Now I think the question was originally more focused on like the interface issue.
Yeah.
But I would argue I would almost argue that the ads and stuff in there, like at least there's not ads instead of tiles or something. Like that would be really annoying.
True.
Just from a searching, like just to add more to your clicks and searches and stuff. But yeah, I would say Hulu and Netflix are relatively similar from an interface standpoint. I don't have any major gripes with Hulu when I'm going through it, now that I'm thinking about it. But I also don't search for a lot of movies on Hulu. I mostly just watch
I don't think they're
TV.
stocked up in that regard.
Yeah, so I haven't done a lot of deep searches into Hulu to really give it a fair go at what the depths of that interface is like.
Here's my appreciation for Hulu, and I think it is just because, by the way, I looked it up, it's $120 a year now.
Shit.
So $10 a month. And hey, Amazon, I wasn't happy about that email, but I'm still paying for it. My appreciation with Hulu is just it's not as massive as Netflix. Like I like to just look through Netflix sometimes, and I'll add some stuff to my list and be like, yeah, this looks interesting. I'll check it out. And I kind of do that with Hulu, but Hulu is pretty good at telling me stuff that I would like. Mm-hmm. And Netflix is as well. But I'm just saying, like, Hulu gives me a lot less without me having to go down a more significant rabbit hole.
Sure.
But that stuff, I think, is of a higher caliber. And the stuff that I do want to watch, because it is mostly shows, to get back to them is very easy. They're just right there. Like, here's what you're watching. And it's just all my shit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you very much. My problem with it is I'm always confused when I want to go to the list of episodes. Like I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go back in and watch Broad City now. And I click on it and it just starts playing.
Yeah,
and I'm like, and of course it starts with an ad, so I have to wait for the ad before I can back out. And I'm like, oh no, shit. Because I think I fell asleep last time. I need to figure out which episode I actually haven't seen. And then I have to go and I have to get into the options thing and I have to go to details. And then from details, I have to drop down to episodes. And then I have to scroll up back into, because it starts me at like the latest episode, as you're saying. So that's a mess.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that process is like with an ad off the front end, because that would be very frustrating. Because I do that every single time I go to an episode. Is I click in and it just fucking plays it, and it's not what I want to do. I want to look at the episodes. I have this weird thing where even if I want to play the next episode, I have to confirm that that's the episode I want.
Yeah.
By looking at the list of episodes. It's just, I don't know. It's just what I like to do. Even if I'm very confident that that's the episode, I gotta just double check.
It's what I've had to do with these new episodes of Game of Thrones, and it's like I know for a fact what the one is, but I have to, just double, because there would be nothing worse. Like if for some reason we're watching Game of Thrones and something happened with HBO and they dropped the last two episodes at the same time for like only an hour, but they did it, and I accidentally watched the very last one.
Yeah. Nothing worse than accidentally watching the finale before anything else. So I think I got to give it to Netflix. Mm-hmm. I don't have any major issues. Now, if you're talking content, I still think I got to edge out for Netflix, just because I do think the original programming, although it's getting weaker, in my opinion, is still pretty good.
Still pretty good.
Comparing to other original programming. Now, if you're just talking about television shows, period, I think Hulu's better, because they just stay up to date. You get those seasons faster. You're getting them eps usually like a day after they just aired. I like that. Hulu takes forever to get
Hulu
shit.
is very much, it
Netflix
seems to be the
forever.
kind of bridge between the cord cutters and the actual digital. Because Netflix is like, I don't go to watch something on Netflix that isn't complete, because that's not an option. I don't even actually do it on Hulu just because that's my newest one. And I'm not in the mindset, except for Game of Thrones when there's so much hype around it, to like wait a week for something.
Yeah.
I just watch the season when it's done.
Yeah. That's fair.
But like, I want to get back. Like, I think probably for, I don't know. Handmaid's Tale will probably just come out a season at a time. Or do they drop it weekly? Because it doesn't air on network, does it?
I don't know. That's a good question. I'm not sure. I don't watch that show.
Great show.
I'll have to check
Very,
it out.
very fucking frustrating show.
I heard it was decent. I heard it's pretty fucked up.
It's very fucked up. And it's one of those, just like, I don't know if you watched Man in the High Castle.
I started watching it. I really liked the first season, and I don't even remember if I got through the second season.
Second season was weird.
Is there a third season?
I think it's coming out, or it just came out semi-recently.
Love the premise.
I haven't
Got a little
watched it.
boring, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a similar thing to Handmaid's Tale in that it's like, oh, it's cool and dystopian. Handmaid's Tale is a little darker, I think.
Sure.
But it's just, both of them are just like a hair too close to home.
No.
Like, where it's just like, oh, okay. Like, Man in the High Castle, I think, holds such emotional weight because they played it off like, literally, if one thing went a different way, all of this shit would play out. Like, that's kind of their whole premise.
Yeah.
And Handmaid's Tale is, it's more elaborate, but it's like really playing off of fears that you have currently and stuff. So much so that I thought originally, I was like, oh, this is a little bit too much of a Black Mirror to like society. Like, this is so obvious. And then I was like looking it up, and I didn't even know that it was a movie decades ago.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then previously a book. And the book's like decades old. So
Wait, The Handmaid's Tale?
yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
which is pretty nuts. So, and obviously they've adapted the show to be a bit different and lengthen it, but
Yeah. To completely sidebar again, while I'm talking about Netflix original programming, I'm going to give another shout out to Netflix original Altered Carbon, based on the books. Check it out. Fantastic.
I watched it.
You did?
I did not.
Oh, God damn it.
You keep telling me to. I have the time now.
Watch
I have
it.
the time. Game of Thrones is done. I've been saying that I would watch it for you.
Yeah.
I didn't mean that to come out so aggressively. I mean, like, for you, because
Yeah.
I trust
Yeah.
your opinion
It's-
in shows.
Excellent. Phenomenal. Instant review. Disclaimer. First half of the season, better than the second half. Also, don't watch it with your kids.
Oh,
A lot of nudity.
lots of new, more than Game of Thrones.
No. Probably not as much as Game of Thrones.
Because I watched that with all children I know.
But just enough nudity where it's like they didn't have to take it this far kind of thing.
Sure.
Like nudity for the sake of nudity probably.
Yeah.
But it fits the it's not like show breaking because the premise of the show is that these are robots and not humans and stuff. So why would they be? They're not robots. I don't know what the hell
Like
they're-
Westworld nudity,
yeah, basically.
where it's just always there.
Yeah. Well, they're like, I guess they're not robots. They're humans, but they're not in their bodies. So I would think that their like self, image and stuff wouldn't really matter, right? Because it's not
Fair.
like they change bodies all the time, or like that's something they can do. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but I think it's said like almost immediately in the show. So so it's like you're not in your original body a lot of the time. So why would you care like what you look like? I'm sure, but just an interesting.
Do you remember,
Interesting show.
speaking of nudity, to sidebar into our sidebar,
Yeah.
did you watch Last Week Tonight when it came out? Which at this point was years ago.
Oh no, I only started watching it recently, pretty much after you told me to watch it.
Because the first couple seasons, I don't believe are on HBO anymore. I don't think you can find them. And they're like, now everything goes up on YouTube. Like all the big stories and stuff go up on YouTube as well. None of those are. And that's because when Last Week Tonight started, they really leaned into the fact that they were on HBO.
Yeah.
And I remember there was one episode where I think he was talking about something like about Mitch McConnell. Like whatever congressional race Mitch McConnell was up for, he was facing his opponent, and John Oliver was like going back and forth saying like, here's why to vote for this person, or here's, what this person represents. And so I think it was like don't remember what the woman's platform was or whatever, but she was running against Mitch, and he would just show her actual face, and he would talk over it for like a couple minutes, and then it would flash to a close-up of a very old man's dick. And and it was on the screen for so long.
That's hilarious.
And they haven't done anything like that in years now, but I just remember they really just kind of, as soon as he was not on the Daily Show, he's like cracking his knuckles. He's like, let's see what we can do.
That's hilarious.
My favorite thing about the bits now is like, because they got bought out by AT&T or whatever,
Yeah.
and he just shits on AT&T every episode.
That is awesome. Yeah. He's freaking funny. That show is funny. I do have just because the show is so heavy on the politics,
Yeah.
and it's fair. Like I'm not judging the show for this by any means, and I love it. I think it's hilarious, but I do acknowledge the fact that the show is very left-sided. Like,
Oh, for sure.
which is fine. It's not a bad thing. But it's just like it's very obviously left-sided, and I'd just be interested to see, just because I didn't watch it from the beginning. Trump is such a just obvious target, and his whole like cabinet and all that stuff is just so obvious that I don't remember. I just wonder what it was like. I mean, I'm sure he still makes fun of Clinton and all that stuff too, but it's like he seems to be a little more harsh on the right side, probably deservedly so right now, particularly. But
Yeah, he for sure is. It was actually my favorite thing. I think it's my favorite segment, or one of my favorite segments that he's ever done, was the first one he did about Trump,
yeah,
because he avoided him forever.
yeah,
Like he would make like little jokes or whatever, but nothing at all. He didn't treat him like a serious candidate, and he wasn't near going into in depth and stuff like he is now. And then the second that the tone started shift, or people were like, could this be a thing? He did an episode where he's like, we gotta, jokes are funny and everything, but we've kind of tried to not give this press, but we've got to just kind of talk about it and hash that issue. And he just brought up it's maybe the best in-depth, just look at this, look at the numbers behind it, look why it's wrong, like just where he was going and knocking every point out, boom, boom, boom. And at a point, this was when everybody, left and right, was treating this like something that was never going to happen.
yeah.
And so he's just like, let's just take this seriously and see why it wouldn't go well.
Yeah.
Which was cool. I like that a lot.
Great show. Very funny.
Great show.
Great show.
Yeah, so I guess props to Netflix. You've been killing that interface. You've been in it for years. I do have my problems
Yeah.
with Netflix.
None of them are perfect. That's for sure.
It seems to, for some reason, not be very good. Like, it's always got continue watching, and it's never right for me. I always go in and I'm like, oh yeah, continue watching it, and it's like an episode behind or something, and like, no, wrong. And so then I go in. At least it's much easier to get to the actual episodes.
Yeah.
So that I can just click on that, and that's quite nice. I think the best thing about Netflix, and this isn't an interface thing, is that they are just kind of across the board doing pretty well. So like their original programming is still solid. They have a decent amount of TV shows, although they have dropped off in recent years from like some big name ones, but still some good ones and some solid go-tos. Their documentaries, I think, can't be touched, and their movies are pretty good.
Yeah.
They're not getting worse, but others are getting better at movies.
And
But
I
still
think
pretty good.
I think Netflix is just getting more, and with more, you're gonna take a hit on quality. I'm sure.
It's gonna be some shit in there. Yeah.
You're gonna sign Adam Sandler to a 6-movie deal.
Yeah. But
Have any of those been good?
I haven't watched any of them.
They're
You watched the one, right? The super offensive one that like everybody quit.
I don't even remember.
It was like something about Native Americans or
Oh yeah, the Western one.
Yeah, the
It
Western
had like the
one.
Native American. Yeah, that was pretty brutal. I watched it. I mean, there's still like he's still Adam Sandler. There's still like funny parts, I guess, but it's very childish humor. At least like I feel like the old stuff he did was, typically childish, but also like just well written and funny
yeah,
and like clever as well, which kind of made up for the childish jokes.
sure.
Because, I mean, if you think about some of his own movies, like Big Daddy, for example, I would argue is almost
movie.
more of a drama than a comedy. Like, it's very much a comedy, but it's still telling a story, and it's not, like, he plays a very, serious character for the most part, and it's, like,
Yeah.
dealing with a serious issue, and it's very, and it still comes off funny, where it's, like, stark contrast from that to Jack and Jill.
Yeah,
So...
it's very different. Do you watch his?
Anyway.
Do you watch his stand up?
No, I didn't, but I did watch his like Saturday Night Live, a couple of his bits when he was on Saturday Night Live, and he does a Chris Farley tribute song that he wrote
Yeah,
on Saturday Night Live, and that was in his stand-up apparently.
yeah. It was
From
his.
what I
It was
hear.
his end thing.
Which I thought was great.
It was a good song. Yeah, that was a good song. There was another really funny song in the stand-up that he did with Rob Schneider, which is a surprise. So sorry if you haven't seen it yet. Spoiler. But then the problem with the stand-up is it's like feature-length stand-up, if you will, an hour and whatever. And it's just a bunch of songs and bits. He like talks a little bit. And the songs are all, like, if you just took each song in a vacuum, you'd like giggle. A couple of them are pretty funny. The problem is all of them are exactly the same in that he just like starts playing and it's a serious song and then there's a twist and you laugh and then he just finishes the song. Like everything is the exact same setup.
Yeah.
And it gets old so fast.
Yeah.
The Chris Farley thing is the only one that's not like that.
Yeah. And that, like I said, I thought that was phenomenal. I'm a huge Chris Farley fan though. So it hit home for me.
Yeah. I've never thought that guy was funny.
Really? Mm-mm. Oh, Tommy Boy's like probably my second favorite movie of all times.
Chris Farley, John Belushi. Honestly, most of that era of people I never thought were funny. Yeah. I think I just missed it. Well, I think it was a lot of slapstick stuff.
Because I think John Belushi would have been a little bit before Chris Farley. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, very similar style of comedy.
I think I hit that at the wrong time, and then I saw them too late.
And who's the one before, kind of probably a little bit before about John Belushi? John Candy, I would argue, is kind of like about the same style of comedy.
Sure.
As well. To an extent. Some of his movies are funny.
Yeah.
I'm just in them. Yeah, I love Tommy Boy's just so good.
As movies, they're better. Tommy Boy's not a bad movie. Yeah. I enjoyed it. I think my problem is I also don't really like David Spade.
Oh, see, I think David Spade is super funny. I think David Spade is funny as like the sarcastic David Spade, not as him like, what's the movie where he plays like the child star that is now grown up?
I don't know.
It was like, but he's much more silly, or even in his recent like kind of additions to Adam Sandler movies, he's a little more wacky. That I don't care for, other than Joe Dirt, because Joe Dirt's phenomenal.
Sure.
Joe Dirt 2, also not bad. Was a Crackle exclusive, if I'm not mistaken.
Ooh, a Crackle exclusive.
Yeah, but pretty funty. Also impossible to watch without ads. So hopefully that's changed, because it's worth checking out if you're a Joe Dirt fan.
Duly noted.
What's your favorite movie of all times? Let me hit you with a big old question.
A big question.
Yeah.
What's my favorite movie of all time?
Yeah, all times.
Of all times.
Of all times.
Of all of the times. Just my number one favorite movie.
Number one. If you could only watch one movie, well, I guess that's a different question.
Fuck.
Because that may change it.
Yeah, that could change it. Probably Empire Strikes Back.
That's fair. That's
just because I'm not confident that I could say anything else that tomorrow I'd wake up and be happy saying. Like,
yeah.
Because there's a number of contenders, but I just wake up and go, oh, no, fuck. Not of all time. Like,
yeah. See, that's where my review or my like list falls apart a bit. It's because I've always had the same absolute favorite movie. True. But I don't claim that it's the best movie, if that makes sense. Like, I absolutely know that there's plenty of flaws in this movie. And it's not like a critically acclaimed movie by any means. It's just my favorite movie. I love everything about it. And I've seen it so many times, I still laugh at all the jokes. It's Dumb and Dumber.
Oh, okay.
It's my favorite movie.
It's a great movie.
It's just of all there's nothing better in my opinion than that movie. And then I think Tommy Boy's probably up there. A lot of nostalgia for me. Watched those movies a lot when I was a kid. Probably too young to be watching them, but still.
Yeah.
But yeah, Empire Strikes Back is probably pretty close there. And then we're talking like Blade Runners and stuff. But
yeah. I still haven't seen Blade Runner.
The new one or the original?
Both.
They're both so good. They're both on my top 10, guaranteed. Yeah.
I gotta check it. I gotta check them out because I think I'd be into it from all the things I've heard.
Yeah, I would say go into the first one with a grain of salt though, because it shows its age in parts, and not necessarily from an aesthetic standpoint. I think the practical effects and the aesthetics really hold up. It's just the style of movie is very different. Like the acting style is different. Just very, very different. So I would say that. And I've even, like, as I've watched them, I hate to say it, I think 2049 is starting to surpass it. I really like that movie.
Quality.
Big Ryan Gosling fan, though. Gorgeous.
You are. What is besides Blade Runner 2049, your favorite Ryan Gosling film?
Oh, that's a good question. I gotta let me talk about something else for a second. Let me pull up Ryan Gosling movies here.
You're just pulling up images of his face.
Yeah.
Oh. As Hans looks up Ryan Gosling, I will just say we've been rambling a little incessantly here, kind of for a purpose. We're kind of getting a feel for this because if you didn't know, Game of Thrones is over. And yes, we have our season review coming and our series recap coming. And we've kind of all established individually and collectively that we would like to do something because we're enjoying this, and we've had a number of people that say they enjoy it to an extent as well. And, I'm sure we'd just continue setting some time aside to chat with each other. But if there was something that you think would be fun to hear us talk about, probably on a much more grand scale than we're currently doing, so that we could branch out to talk about a number of things. But if there are any ideas floating around, we would love to have those. As you know, our email is always open to you, thronesandscones@gmail.com. We have a Facebook. You can message us there. You can tweet us. That's probably the worst way to get a hold of us, just because I check Twitter so infrequently. I don't know what anyone else does. But you can tweet us and probably eventually see it. You can slide into our Instagram DMs even, and you may get a response and some dick pics. You never know. So
Absolutely. All right, let me hit you with some Ryan G movies.
Give me the goss.
So I'm going to give you my second favorite Ryan Gosling movie. It's a little bit of cheating. Remember the Titans. Very good. He's in it. Barely, but he's in it. He was young in that movie. Movie came out in 2000. Great movie. Runner up. This one gets tough. I'd probably say The Place Beyond the Pines. Really cool movie.
Okay.
Not a movie I want to watch all the time, but like one watch sticks with you kind of movie. Nice. Just very, very cool direction, very cool imagery. Really like that movie. Another little side shot, little rom-com for you. Crazy Stupid Love. Pretty funny.
Not a bad movie.
Not a bad movie. I'm not a big rom-com fan, but I can get through that one. We got some Steve Carell in there, which my favorite show is The Office, so that helps.
Yeah.
And then I just most recently, don't know why this one didn't come to my mind when you asked, on the plane ride from Mexico, I watched First Man.
That's the
Neil Armstrong.
The Neil Armstrong one.
Yeah, movie. It was good. Could have been a little shorter, but it was
That's
good.
what I heard.
I feel like those movies those documentary type, or like biography type movies tend to go a little bit long to capture the story, but it was good.
Nice. I have an issue with Ryan Gosling, I think, in that I feel like he's got that perfect personality, i.e. a Matt Damon, a Justin Timberlake, which I'm not saying they're necessarily the same, but like in a similar vein, to be very talented people, but to be that kind of awesome little slice of they don't take themselves too seriously when they don't need to. And I just feel like Ryan Gosling kind of takes himself a little too seriously.
Probably.
At times. Maybe. Although I will say, when they were doing press for Blade Runner 2049, and he was in all these interviews with Harrison Ford, some of those interviews are hilarious.
Yeah.
Because it's just Harrison Ford ripping the shit out of Ryan Gosling the whole time, and he's just laughing at it.
Yeah.
That was funny. I liked him in those media interviews.
Swell job. Really great performance.
Great job.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously a talented dude. I haven't seen La La Land and all those things, but I mean, I think he does like a lot of his own stuff, and obviously he can dance and
oh, for sure.
All that stuff.
The dude has enough talent to back any ego he's got up.
For sure.
I'm not saying that it's undeserved. Like, I think he's probably in the same vein as DiCaprio, not necessarily for talent or anything, potentially, but where Leonardo DiCaprio, I feel like I would like to talk to him in passing, but I bet that we wouldn't actually have good conversation.
I've always wondered, because not to say anyone is a bad guy, because by no means do I think Leonardo's bad. He always seems like pretty candid and nice in interviews and stuff. But I mean, didn't one of his girlfriends like cut him with glass or something, like at a party? I mean, he's had some issues. And I saw a thing a while back where Leonardo DiCaprio, and I mean, maybe you can give a little defense here. Stuff. Leonardo DiCaprio dates young. Yeah.
Like real young.
That's true. Ryan Gosling actually dates older. Eva Mendes, quite a bit older than him, actually.
Is he dating Eva Mendes?
I believe so.
I didn't even know that.
I think they have a kid.
Leonardo DiCaprio, who is 44 years old, has never dated anybody over the age of 25.
Yikes.
Ever.
That's concerning.
That's younger than us.
Yeah,
we don't have a chance with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it doesn't even have anything to do with our genitals.
Yeah, that's borderline. Well, I think he's a little bit better now, but I was gonna say that's younger than Clooney.
Yeah,
Clooney's known for that kind of stuff, right?
I believe so. Although Stacy Keibler was younger than him, but not young.
Yeah, like I said, I think he's getting better, but I knew he was very much a never getting married kind of guy. But he's engaged now or something, right? I
believe Clooney's married.
I think the tides have turned since I've been in that media.
Yeah.
I will tell you this. I know I get a lot of stripe for this. I'm a huge Brad Pitt fan.
Oh, sure.
Big Brad Pitt fan. I think he seems like a cool dude. He seems funny. I know what everyone's screaming about out there. I'm not a big fan of what he did to Jennifer Aniston. Don't get me wrong. But I think he's even getting a second chance now. I don't know. I only learned this from the very fake magazines that are at the checkout lines at grocery stores, which almost have never been right. So,
yeah, it's like every other week it's different though. It's like, okay, Brad Pitt seems to be doing well, blah 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 blah. He's got this nice relationship. They're building up all this like trust, etc. And then the next week it's like him beating up his kid on a plane or something.
Yeah.
You're like, come on, dude.
It's got to be hard to be in the spotlight.
It's got to be so impossible.
Yeah, impossible.
I mean, I say that. We skyrocketed to a level of stardom beyond all of these people, but it's like, it's new territory, so we're kind of like out of it in a way. We're so meta about it that it doesn't even matter.
Yeah. So,
when do you think we'll get, like, do podcasts, are they Grammys? Are they Oscars? What are we up for?
Well, I think it's audio form. If you're only audio format, I gotta think it's a Grammy.
It's a Grammy. But, like, could it be, I mean, there are audio awards at the Oscars.
Oh, it's true.
There are audio awards at the Tonys.
Well, isn't there like, isn't there like a pretty significant award for like vlogging now?
Very probably.
I think one of those big ones even has like a vlogging award.
That's probably true.
So I gotta think there's like a legitimate just podcasting category for one of these big name awards.
Who do you think will really upset this year? I mean, Joe Rogan probably thinks he's got it in the bag.
Yeah, and he doesn't.
He doesn't.
We're taking that sucker down.
I don't even know, like, again, we're just so far ahead of the game, I don't even keep up with what, like, the top podcasts are.
Does Joe Rogan even talk baked goods?
I don't think so.
No.
I think they've, like, eaten edibles a few times, but does that count? I don't think he reviews them. I think he just gets high.
Yeah, that's rookie shit if you ask me.
Just a disclaimer, I have no idea if Joe Rogan actually has done edibles on the show. It's not slander.
No.
Because the lamestream media is going to...
Yeah, they're just going to rip into us. Trying to tear our fame down. Once you get a little bit of success, people are just, you know what I mean? They just change.
They change, man.
Who's this? Silent Bob, Jay and Silent Bob dude has a pretty big podcast, right?
Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
He's probably in the running. To be honest, I don't really listen to podcasts.
I listen to a lot, but they're like pretty specific.
Yeah.
And everything.
I listen to, the one podcast I do listen to is Sacred Symbols, PlayStation podcast.
Ooh, sure.
#1 PlayStation podcast, I believe. So maybe there's a separate category. I don't know.
And we were just talking the other day about how both of us, but you in particular, are very out of the realm of being in the know when it comes to games that are coming out. So I don't think you're doing a very good job at listening to that podcast.
I'm doing terrible. That's what actually kind of got me back into it. Is I was like, all these games are coming out that were probably like I probably would have wanted to play, and I just had no idea that they were coming out. Not that you can't go back and play them, but just kind of out of that media scene.
And of course, we religiously listen to And Rob's Your Uncle. Friend
absolutely.
And fellow.
Of course.
I was actually catching up at work today because I'm a number of episodes behind. And I binged like 2.5 episodes at work, and it's great.
Nice.
You should go listen to it.
Yeah. The parts that Jenna tells me about are very funny.
Jenna is more supportive of us and of people that are supportive of us than we will ever be.
I know, I'm terrible. I just it's not something I can't really get away. I've tried, but I just can't really get away with it at work, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, you're in the, I mean, here's the thing. I would say, no, absolutely you can't. But then Jeremy's also watching multiple episodes of Game of Thrones at work.
He's watching Game of Thrones. I don't understand how that's possible.
All I have to do for the latter half of my day is sit at a computer and I'm doing stuff, but I can listen to something. But even I couldn't watch Game of Thrones at work, and nobody is depending on me to live.
Yeah, and that's what's pretty funny. I think anyway, I don't understand. I'm pretty sure Jeremy doesn't even have his own office. He sits with other people in a small room. So I don't know how that's possible.
Maybe it's like a patient. It's like a well-being thing. He's watching it with people to cheer him up.
Yeah, maybe. What I've done a couple times is I'll get at the end of towards the end of my day, I'm kind of at a point if I've got a lot of my other stuff done, I can get to this point where I'm just really catching up on side projects and extra work that aren't necessarily slotted out for my day, like data collection and all this stuff that I got to do.
Yeah.
Which ends up usually being done at home, which is lame, but sometimes I'll just stay, or if I have a little extra time. Then if I'm doing that stuff, I can totally podcast it out while I'm just doing the data stuff, because it's very dry, very boring stuff to do. So then, but that's usually, I end up just staying late to do that. So then I'm really just listening to podcasts on my own time anyway. So
yeah,
it's about, and then I don't really have a long car drive. My drive's 6 minutes, so I don't have time to really get into any podcast then. Not a complaint.
Think of the series, plural, that you could knock out when you move.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's my plan, is just to load up on podcasts for that ridiculous.
Oh no, I'm talking about drive. Watching shows. Watch shows on the dashboard of the car.
I like that.
As you're driving a U-Haul across country. Safety, Oh.
So now that we've really got into just a bunch of random stuff, Tony, any ideas for what you want to talk about after Thrones and Scones? I think the real question is what rhymes with other baked goods.
Anything, yeah. We could do the Spanish Danish podcast where we just talk about Danishes in Spanish. You could do that.
How do you say Danish in Spanish?
Danish?
Danish?
Danish. I think Danish isn't an English word, so you could probably say it however you want. But I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
What is a Danish?
This is the problem, because now we're thinking, and we've been talking about it a little bit. We've just kind of been putting the conversation off. It's oh, what's next? Where do we go? Because these are the great, it's awesome when we have an open-ended thing. But I don't have a big enough ego to think that if we just have a podcast where it's hey, it's us three and we talk about shit, that's not enough for people to just come to every week and be yeah, I'm interested enough in these humans to be into whatever they're talking about.
Yeah, we're going to definitely lose listeners there.
There's got to be.
And we don't have many to lose.
Yeah, it's true. And again, it's not about sustaining superior numbers or anything. It's not we're making bank, let alone anything off of this. It's just a fun little project. Yeah. But talking into nothing is also not necessarily something that I want to.
Yeah, I think it's got to have a focus. Just what is that focus? You said if we're just talking about shit. I mean, we could. What if we do just talk about shit? I mean, I could talk about my bowel movements. I could review them for you.
Sure. Well, yeah. in going back and binging this and Rob's Your Uncle stuff, I think the first one that I caught up with was the one after where I was a guest on the show.
Yeah.
And they made multiple points to talk about the fact that we talked a little too much about shit in that episode. So I'm like primed and ready to go when it comes to that. Almost apparently to a level that would make Rob uncomfortable.
Which has got to be challenging.
It's got to be challenging. That's really, they say do what you know. I've been shitting forever.
Yeah. One could call me an expert. They say you're, what is it, like 10,000 hours and you can call yourselves?
Yeah. You've mastered your craft. Yeah. We've mastered our crap.
We've mastered the craft. We've mastered the crap.
Oh.
Now what baked good are we going to eat while we talk about fecal matter?
Let me here. I got to Google a list of baked goods here because I'm sure there's a lot more than I can just pick off the top of my brain. List of baked goods. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Here are some of our options. These are all the ones that are just in that popular on the web thing right at the top of Google when I Google list of baked goods.
Of course, yeah.
Cookies, biscuit, cake, custard, arguable, bread, pie, pastry, arguable.
Pastry's a little...
Chinese bakery products.
What?
Crackers, casseroles, bread, milk, bun, and Indian bread.
Indian bread might be a bit specific.
It's fairly specific. I wonder... Oh, see, I was going to say, like, what if I went list of pastries? But the first one is long pastry. No, I'll stop with this.
Short pastry.
Multicolored pastry.
Well, honestly, that would go very well with our shit descriptions.
That's true. If you had to equate your shit to a pastry today, what would it...
Long pastry. Multicolored pastry.
Oh, flaky pastry. Need a little bit more protein there.
Now this one's savory.
It's so evident from the scent alone. Oh, I don't know. There's a lot of things to be considered. And again, if there's any input you have, there's no such thing as stupid input. I mean, there might be input that we laugh at, but that doesn't mean it's stupid.
Yeah, we'll probably call it stupid.
Probably call it absolutely
Doesn't mean
stupid.
it is, yeah.
And when you have to change your name and phone number and address because of the amount of shit we give you, just remember that deep in our hearts, we thank you for reaching out and sliding into our DMs. But just to give you a taste of why you might want to continue listening to whatever we may or may not bring you in the future, of course, we bring it around to the moment you've all been waiting for, Hans's Scone Review.
Yeah, it's a little bonus scone review in today's episode.
Sconus.
So I thought, as just like a little, Tony, you can definitely stop me here if you want, but I thought as just a little bonus, since it's just you and me, and we're just freestyling up here, I thought I'd give the listeners a little bit more of an in-depth look, or I guess listen to how I review scones.
Because we often give Jeremy a lot of time to review his scones, but we don't necessarily get that same luxury.
No, yeah, because I am a professional.
Right. And standards to adhere to.
Yeah, and I keep my reviews, detailed, but concise.
Right.
Jeremy just starts talking about whatever shit he wants to start talking about. It's just,
exactly.
It's a little bit of a, it's a little bit
We would never do that for an hour and 10 minutes.
No. Absolutely not. So I just thought, as a special bonus, given that we've never really gone into depth, and because our Tony and I's reviews are so methodical, concise, detailed, that I just give you a little look at the wheels that are turning in the background for me.
Great.
And and at least my proprietary method of giving the most accurate review that I possibly can.
This is trademarked, just for anybody else.
It's trademarked. So it all starts with the 3 P's. Okay?
Of course.
Presentation. All right? I look at that presentation. Then it branches off from presentation, right? So now you're talking about shape. You're talking about size.
Is shape one of the P's?
No.
Okay.
No. You're talking about shape. This is all encompassing presentation / aesthetic.
Okay.
You're talking about shape. You're talking about size. You're talking about, so there's a couple things that do mesh here a little bit. Because then, sometimes I separate, like if it's got a glaze or frosting, right? That may be a little bit different than the scone itself. Because if you ever get there where you get like the frosting on it, but the frosting is like kind of poorly put on there, but that scone is perfect, right?
Sure.
So it can, there's a lot that goes into the presentation, but basically it's self-explanatory. So then, second P, Tony, you want to take a guess?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Second P, price?
Wrong. Palette.
Palette. Of course. No, I thought that was the third P, but yeah.
It hits that palette. No, because I don't want to put price above the palette. Like, price is, it's a factor, obviously,
Sure.
but it's the least important factor, in my opinion. Because if you're making an excellent scone, with amazing presentation, excellent palette, I'll pay whatever price you're charging. You know what I mean? The price really only comes into play when you're selling me these shitty scones.
Which are always the most expensive.
Yeah, but it is a factor. And I'm looking out, So palette, this is really obviously the biggest category. We're talking, texture. We're talking what's relatively related, but density. We're talking flavor. We're talking
balance of sweetness.
We're talking mouthfeel. We're talking finish. There's just a lot in there. And then, the problem is sometimes, that first bite, consistency, I'll say. Because sometimes that first bite, like how arranged are the fruits in there? How arranged are your extras that are in the scone? So it really does get pretty complex. So then what I do is I break down these 3 Ps to usually this is art, so I don't want to be too objective because it's impossible.
Sure.
I can't give a solid number to this, but I do want to keep a level of objectivity to make sure my reviews stay consistent.
Of course.
Did
we get that third P?
Price. Sorry.
Oh, it is price. Okay.
Yep, it is price. Very important. Again, kind of just a tack on at the end. If there's a tiebreaker. Yeah, if there's a tiebreaker. It was going to be the 4 Ps. Couldn't think of a 4th P.
Pairability?
Passability? Pairability. You're right. It is pairability. That is actually what I was trying to think of earlier. So, pairability. Very important. Because, the scone, it's a breakfast food. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes.
So, sometimes it's savory. Sometimes it's sweet. Sometimes it's bland. Sometimes you need a little coffee with it. Sometimes you need a little whiskey with it. Sometimes you need, especially if it's in the morning, if you know what I mean.
Right.
Sometimes you need to dunk it in a little milk. I don't know. I'm not here to judge, but some pair well with the milk than others. Obviously, I try all combinations when I'm reviewing these scones. So
right, because you're a professional, the 5th
Yeah,
P.
absolutely. Let me tell you, horseradish cheddar dipped in chocolate milk, not the best.
Oh, God.
Chocolate, not my favorite.
Dipped in horseradish, similarly bad.
Not my favorite. So yeah, the 4 Ps. Sorry, cleared up there. Usually, that pairability has just kind of been intertwined with everything else, but I love it. Add in a 4th P on the spot. I'll trademark it later.
There you go.
So like I said, I break down all that, presentation, aesthetic. Usually I just hit some highlights, and then if anything's glaring, I throw that in there. And then I put it in the calculator, which I can't tell you guys about because that is under
that
development.
Algorithm is
the algorithm, again,
years.
is top secret. That spits out a number, and then I take that number, add it all together, again, divide it by a proprietary number that we have established, put it on the chart.
Our control.
And then it spits out, a relative review number. It gives me an idea of where it stands from an objective standpoint. And then I take that number, put a little personal flair on it, and give you guys that, really detailed, verbal review, which is usually something like, that's okay. Or, that was good. It all just depends.
Which, yeah, that's the one thing, is we did get a couple messages early on, and there was this concern of like, Hans always says the same thing about the scone review. That's not even close to true.
No, you're clearly not listening then.
Not listening. It's like like Mandarin or one of these languages with all these different inflections. Is the devil's really in the details.
Absolutely.
If you were listening to a robot say, it's all right. Like, then yeah, sure, he's given the same thing, but that's not what he's doing.
No, not at all. So, yeah, and we're talking wide differences between the two that I even just said. So if you can't hear that, Jesus.
So,
anyway.
can we use a control experiment here and give an example of this whole process?
Absolutely. So
what it would sound like, just in case people haven't been paying attention to the scone review portion of the episode.
Of course. So I'm currently I'll review a scone on air for you. This
is rare.
I have this Starbucks mini vanilla bean scone. They give you three for $3.50. So we've already knocked out our third point price.
They're pretty
Decent.
small.
They're pretty small. It's not cheap, but it's not bad. And I will say I'm a little bit biased because when I ordered them, they gave me 4.
Oh.
For the same price.
Okay.
So, again, I can't imagine that's done all the time. I'm not sure. They probably just wanted me out of there.
Perhaps. Now, I will say, I think the 2 Starbucks scones that have been on the show thus far have accrued some of the lowest ratings.
Yeah, and that is interesting. So this scone, again, I kind of knocked out price. That's almost more of like a little tertiary P, because I usually just throw that in there. Tertiary P. I don't keep that as consistent. It's flexible. Something to consider. So then we start with obviously presentation. Mm-hmm. They're gorgeous.
Ooh.
It's that frosting, that almost doesn't even have an imperfection in it. It's just like a perfect, smooth frosting across the top. Excellent.
Nice little virgin skin of glaze.
Yeah. And then it's the scone itself, near perfect triangles. Excellent.
Like beautifully near perfect triangles, or like painfully fake beautifully triangles?
No. They're good. They're not good. Like they're equilateral perfect triangles. They got a little character to them too. I think the frosting helps with the presentation. To be honest, I'm really digging the frosting. The color, it's just this stark white. It really just stands out. And then I love the little touch with the vanilla bean. So you almost get like little grains in the dough. So it's like a little spot, almost kind of very subtly spotted.
Nice.
With what I can only assume is just natural vanilla bean components. It must be. And then you get just like a nice kind of pale, doughy color, like your typical like scone color, nothing flashy.
Sure,
nothing
Midwestern American.
Absolutely.
Pale, doughy.
Yeah, and then honestly, I have no gripes with the presentation.
Nice.
Very minimal. And I would say like they look good in a cluster. They look good on their own. They really hold up.
Respect. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan. I don't know if I have anything on the presentation side to even say anything. So I mean that's really
high praise.
So I mean I put it in the calculator. There's a couple other little things that I can't say. So just like small little proprietary, again, calculator stuff, top secret. 9.75 spits out for me.
Nice. Okay.
So pretty good. That might be one of the highest.
Once again, that's not out of 10. We can't tell you what the number is out of.
No, it's not out of 10. It's hard to compare these two, especially, which really gets down into the guts of this equation, of this formula.
Sure.
Is like, how do you compare a mini scone to a full size scone? So there's some there. How do you compare a sweet scone, which a lot of times can have very bright colors and all stuff, to a horseradish cheddar scone, which is gonna look like a butthole. So there's that, and then we have palate. Now I say palate with the caveat that I do include the nose in the palate, right? What are these things smelling like? And I couldn't think of a P word for nose, which is the only reason it's not included as the fifth P.
Perfume.
That's good. Maybe I'll use that. Fifth P, trademarked.
Fifth P.
We're the 5 Ps now. So perfume. Because obviously I'm not going to just go freaking biting into this thing.
No, you're not an animal.
I'm going to sit with it. I'm gonna let it decant a little bit in the air. Let it just oxidize just a touch. Mm-hmm. Let it open up a bit. So it smelled like a mass-produced scone.
Sure.
Didn't really have a good smell.
It's what you expect.
Just didn't have a bad smell. It just smelled like like your typical what baker baked good, kind of little bit of doughiness, but nothing super special. I didn't really get any notes of vanilla or anything. Little disappointing. I already, just for the sake of time, I plugged this stuff in earlier. She spit out like a 4.82.
Okay.
So
now, out of curiosity, were these scones room temperature when you consumed them?
Of course. Yeah. Ain't no rookie.
Right.
You eating a cold scone, you're gonna miss out on a lot of stuff here.
Sure. Well, I didn't know if you had, because Jeremy often microwaves a number of his scones.
Interesting.
I didn't know if you went that route.
I don't do that only because I think it's insane.
Right.
But
that's why we're glad he's dead.
Yeah. And the palate. So moving on to the palate, trying to, for the sake of time, again, I'm really getting, this review is still truncated to the real review. So I'm going as fast as I can here. Yeah. Palate. It's good. So the palate is good. The flavor is spot on. We get some vanilla bean. There was even like a little note of almond in there, I think. So okay. Very, very nice. Very nice. The frosting was subtle. Wasn't overpowering.
Rare.
Yeah, very good. And then so we're hitting highs. We're hitting highs. That front palate is amazing, really good. And then we get to the mouthfeel a little bit. She's a little dry. But not the good scone dry that we really look for.
Sure.
It was just almost chalky, where it's crumbly and dry and kind of chewy at the same time. It fell apart a bit here. Not enough to tank it by any means. But it fell apart.
It's that you're trying to forget you saw them pull it out of a bag under the counter.
Yeah. So
factor.
It faulted here. This was its biggest fault, for sure. But again, not enough to tank it because, like I said, the flavor was great. It finishes nice. It doesn't leave any residual flavors in your mouth that are unpleasant. Sometimes you can get a little bit of that. Especially if I don't know if you've noticed, Tony. What am I talking about? Of course you've noticed.
Of course I've noticed.
You can get a little, especially when the frostings are a little too sugar heavy or a little too sweet. You can get that kind of like sweet aftertaste in the back of your mouth that just doesn't go away.
It's the grains get embedded between your taste buds, and it's just Absolutely. in every ounce of saliva that passes through is Kool-Aid.
Yeah. So it didn't really have that. There's a hint there, of course.
Sure.
You're not going to get away from it completely, I think, with any frosted, seriously frosted scone. But it wasn't bad. And then we get to the sustainability here within the palate. Do you only eat one mini scone? Do you eat two? Do you eat three?
You eat 4.
3.
Oh, okay.
I left one, took it to work. Both were good. You didn't have to have 3. You could get away with 1.
Okay.
They were just sweet enough that, 1 was like a nice little treat, and 3 was a nice little breakfast that didn't make me feel sick afterwards.
Nice.
So this was also a plus. So you tack all this. There's a lot going into the palate. Obviously, this is going to be the money maker for these scones.
Yeah.
You tack it all in there. You tack it all in there. You tack it all in there. You get a 73.8.
Okay, sure.
80, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then
Repeat.
when you take all those numbers, and then the price, of course, the price was 3 for $3.50. I got a bonus scone, so there is an asterisk by this because I'm clearly biased.
Yeah, you were. They probably were trying to buy out your review.
Yeah, probably. They probably just recognized me. I try to keep my sunglasses, my hat down. Just because I don't want any fans, like my headphones in. I'm
Right.
trying to.
But someone called them an hour before and said, "Hey, what kind of scones do you have?"
So
It's just not a question they get from everyone.
So, just take just take them all. Just get out of here. So the price, it's a pretty standard price.
Sure.
We give it a 12.8.
I think especially if you've split it into 2 meals at this point, or 2 portions.
Absolutely.
That's not a bad price at all.
No, not a bad price at all. 12.8, and then of course pairability. Mm-hmm. Our staple. Other P.
Which vanilla usually has an inherent edge in.
Yeah, I mean, it paired great with everything. I had it with coffee for my breakfast, was great. Had it by itself with the other one, phenomenal. Did a couple test bites, obviously, with some other mixtures. Nothing stood out as terrible.
Yeah. It's
So
accommodating.
it wasn't bad. Had a little whiskey with it. It was great. Had a beer with it. It was great.
And you ate them all for breakfast.
All for breakfast, yeah. So, yeah. Smoked a cigarette with it. It was phenomenal.
Nice.
Honestly, a little crack. Paired relatively nicely.
Sure, of course. They say if it grows together, it goes together, and you would be a fool not to mix that Colombian vanilla with that.
Absolutely.
With the nation's finest.
Absolutely. Hard to stay objective after that, but that's why I let it marinate a bit. Give my review later. So pairability was great, 42.8.
Okay.
So when you plug all these numbers into the thing, it spits out, your general. Again, I can't give you a denominator or anything like that, but it spits out a general number of 738.2.
Okay.
0, obviously. Which put it in to, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I would hope that, at this point, because now people are probably saying, you spent 20 minutes to tell us, it's pretty good. But you got to not think about that. We spent 20 minutes so that every time from now on, and if you go back and listen to the episodes, when you hear, it's pretty good, like you can figure out, you can kind of hear, now that you know what's behind it, we've unwrapped the secrets for you. You can hear all of that 20 minutes to yourself, so that we don't have to do that every time.
Yeah, and we like I said, we value your time.
Right.
That's why we're sweating these reviews.
Yeah.
We're after hours reviewing these things till the morning sun. So. But I did want to just give you a taste. This is a bonus episode. Fast forward it if you want.
We appreciate it. Yeah. We do, as Hans said, we do value your time, which is why we didn't want to just say, hey, no episode this week. We wanted to just come on for 12, 15 minutes and let you know where our kind of heads were at and what was happening, and just kind of, give you a little behind the scenes.
Yeah. So again, if you have any questions or anything, or any ideas for future podcasts that you're interested in, we want to tailor to the fans too. I know, there's a lot of you out there. So slide into our DMs. I don't know if you liked the ideas we had. Maybe we'll be sliding into some BMs. I don't know.
Figure that sliding into the BMs is not the worst podcast name ever. So I'm just saying, front runner. Do you want to try like a new outro?
Oof.
Like a new thing? Just so we can get something on like the test run?
What would be? Do you have anything in mind?
I say that I have absolutely nothing in mind.
I got nothing in mind. I think the problem is we just nailed it the first time. You know what I mean?
We really crushed it. Thinking maybe we could like. Here's. Here, I've watched a lot of people on the internet before. They have a number of different outros. They're all so different. But I think that one thing that no one has ever done, I've really kind of taken a full sample. Maybe we should do something. It's pretty simple. I can't believe it hasn't been done before. But just like, bye.
Bye.
Nailed it.
I was thinking maybe the other outro idea could just be at the end of the episode, someone just like bloodthirsty screams.
Oh, you want to give it a go? Just like talk and like pretend like you're outroing an episode.
Yeah. So yeah, that was Tony and Hans, and this was Thrones and Scones.
It was such a peak.
Oh, it's perfect. I think that came back through my microphone and still clipped.
I'm expecting a knock on my door here in like 12 seconds.
I like it.
Sex down.
Talk about something simple that no one's thought about.
True.
It was so obvious all this time.
Oh, maybe we should do a Nerf gun review podcast.
Oh shit. You think that's out there?
I don't know. I mean, I think if it is out there, nobody has more of a right to do it than us.
That's true.
We've been in the game for years. We're obviously some top level marksmen.
Yeah, we've been in the game. Serious years.
Seriously.
Tony, practically, what is the Karate Kid? What's the Karate Kid with the three Karate Kids? You know what I'm talking about?
The what?
The three Karate Kids. Maybe it's just called Karate Kids. I don't know. But it's the movie. There's three of them. Mr. Miyagi's in it, obviously.
Oh, okay.
And at the end of the movie, spoilers if you haven't seen.
I don't think I've seen it.
This movie, kid throws a marble that he's been carrying around this whole time. Throws a marble into the barrel of a gun.
Ooh.
Right as the guy's about to shoot it, backfires the gun.
Sure.
Blows it up in his hand.
As it would.
Saves the day. Tony, practically, clearly a better marksman.
Yeah.
Nerf gun bullet into the barrel of another Nerf gun. That's the kind of level we're talking about here. So, yeah.
Ain't no lie. Wish we were filming it. We weren't.
So I think we have more right than anybody. The problem with that, I have a feeling, is that it's just such a visual thing.
It's true.
I guess
but
we
I
could
think
just...
if we can encapsulate and really give people such not only visual representation, but like a physical hunger reaction to our scone reviews, we've got to be able to nail Nerf gun descriptions.
Yeah.
They're basically the same thing.
Yeah, because
we can call it.
I know we elicit just very visceral reactions to our scone reviews.
What if we start so we all come to live down in Tennessee just because it's new, fresh territory.
Of course.
And we start multiple gang wars with Nerf guns against people who probably have real guns. But, when you're dealing with the level of marksmanship that we have, it's almost still not fair.
Yeah. No, Tony will just be popping Nerf bullets right into the barrels of the guns.
Yeah.
They'll just,
right into their barrels of their dicks. And we just call it Nerf and Turf.
Nerf and Turf. I like that.
Nerf and Turf.
I like that.
Could be worse.
Or keep the same name, Nerf and Turf. Talking Nerf guns, eating steaks.
Eating steaks. Sure. Stick to the food. Hell yeah.
Probably not as fun.
Eating the steaks.
Yeah, eating steaks compared to shooting gangsters in the penis with Nerf guns, but
it might translate better to a podcast. I might have had a point about that.
Potentially. Yeah, it'd be really hard to film us out in the wild. Or record our audio out in the wild.
It's true. We've got, it's us. And we're like strapped to the nines with all these Nerf guns. And then just a guy with a boom mic following us around. And he keeps getting shot.
It sounds expensive.
It does sound expensive, yeah.
I would honestly, though, would feel comfortable volunteering Jeremey as the boom guy.
Oh, sure. Well, just because I'm not comfortable putting a Nerf gun in his hands, I don't know what he's dealing with. I've never seen him shoot.
No, I've seen it. It's garbage.
Which is, if it was, it's almost responsible for him to be garbage. Because if it was good, he'd have killed his kid by now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
He's kind of got to be a bad shot.
Yeah, Ethan's
6.
A child. 6. Yeah, I knew that. It's a fair fight.
Yeah, it's a fair fight.
Yeah, I've witnessed. It's a fair fight.
Ethan could maybe be a part of our gang, even.
Potentially. He could definitely be a little more sly, get into some places where, I maybe can't,
Sure.
Really infiltrate those places.
I know that you love when we talk about your middle name and where you live. Do you think that Jeremy also loves when we constantly mention his child?
Yeah, probably.
Just air that out there.
Yeah, he probably loves it. Getting plugs. Gonna be child famous.
He'll be able to put this on applications for parochial schools and stuff.
Yeah, and I think he's very into that whole YouTube up that society,
aren't they
or
all?
Whatever. Yeah, it's just such a big thing right now. So I mean, being YouTube or internet famous is just that's the life stream now.
Sure.
So I think if anything, we're helping the little guy.
You're welcome.
You are welcome.